Yes, everybody, what's going on? We are back here with Connor here. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It is the One Leeds Fan Channel. We're back here. We're previewing the game, really. We had something out last night, but of course, we're just getting everything sorted in terms of your pre-match build-up with everything going on. Massive game for Leeds for me today. I hope you're all doing really well. Get your comments in the section below. I'd like to see how you guys are doing. You might notice something just here. Just here. There we go. Yeah, it is One Leeds we've replaced in full swing. So, guys, as well, make sure you go check out our sponsor, shipbikesusa.com. And for 20% off your sort of below-waist grooming, make sure you check out manscaped.com. I worked really hard for that. Managed to get you guys a 20% discount and free shipping. So make sure you go check that out. Once again, I used it this morning. Beautiful. Telling you, it's well worth it. So how is everybody doing today? Let's have a look at some of your questions. Lee says, come on, Leeds, 3 points, a clean sheet and no injuries, please. Jikanji, hello, mate. Connor got a win next 2 games. I think it is vital. I think it's a massive, massive game today. And the reason it's such a big game is because, you know, a lot of people will turn around and be like, it's only 2 games in, but these are the games we have to win. We've got 37 games left. We're trying to get to that 40-point mark. I don't think there's insurance like there is in the Championship. You know, we've got potentially, you know, a bottom 3 club in the next couple of weeks in the Championship, whatever. But the quality in the Premier League is so high that games like this today, you have to win. We have to win today for me. I'd be disappointed with a draw. I'd be absolutely gutted with a loss. Let's see what some of you guys are saying as well. Just coming on now. 3-1 says Joe Bamford. Brace. Is Cooper fit for today? Darren, I believe he is, which is excellent news. It means that we're going to get more balance at the back. It means we're going to get more communication. We've got a leader at the back, which is absolutely essential. Listen, I think genuinely, if we'd have had a leader last week, we'd have won the game. Last week, it was Leeds versus Liverpool, Leeds versus Mo Salah. Not Leeds versus Liverpool, it was Mo Salah, you know. And, you know, so many differentials could have happened last week, or we actually won the game. I think we're unlucky to lose the game. And, you know, I think a little bit more communication, you know, for Salah's goal, you look at the communication, it was poor. Obviously, the second goal, communication, poor. So I think a leader back there, giving Leeds a little bit, helping Robin as well. I think it's going to be Big Cooper being back to help Robin. That's going to be absolutely huge, I'm telling you. G'day, Connor. The name's bigger than last week. Have to win these type of games. I would agree. Peter, hello. Connor 2.0 match on together. Hiya, Pete. Any news about Rodrigo de Paul? Nothing at all. No news about Rodrigo de Paul at all. What happened to the Room Mill? The Room Mill will return when something happens, Alan. The Room Mill will return when something happens. Until that, we've got more content, which is out weekly, which is it's previewing your games on Saturday, which is the most relevant thing. If nothing's going on transfer-wise, there's nothing to report on the Mill. What do you think has and expect to stand up and be the match winner today? Says Liam. I fancy it's going to be Bamford for me today, mate. I think Bamford's going to have a good game, leading from the front, and hopefully we can get our first win. A lot of people talking about Hull, a lot of people saying, you know, with that Hull game, has that dampened our confidence? It's not dampened our confidence, but as a club, we've lost 2 games now on the bounce, haven't we? And we need to get that confidence increased, whether or not there was 11 changes, whether or not it was a shoestring team, really, in terms of depth. I think we need to have, you know, we need a win as a club right now. You know, we do. Obviously, even just the 21s yesterday, losing a 2-0 lead to Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think as a general collective, we just need a win as a club at the minute. Ian says, I want to see Rodrigo get off the mark today. Don't we all, mate? Don't we all? Johnny Bateman, come on, Leeds. Jikanji again saying a draw isn't good enough. I'd probably agree with that, to be honest. Afternoon, Connor says, Lee, it is afternoon, isn't it? God, I still think it's morning. It goes so quickly. Rand Davis, 3-0. I'm going to go comfortable 3-0. Yeah, Phil Cooper will make Koch into a great defender, just as he did with Ben White. People will play confidence next to Cooper. And this is a big point as well. You know, Robin, I thought, played well last week. He was unlucky, but he grew into the game. You know, you look at his aerial duels, 7 out of 9-1. His pass percentage was beyond 85, 90%. So he had a really good game, genuinely. You look at there was a highlight package that was going round about Robin, and his actual play was really good. Never lost the ball. A couple of crossfield balls were cut out, but that's because of Liverpool's high intense press. But aside from that, he was brilliant. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, genuinely. But it was just the mistakes. The first one wasn't a penalty, so he was unlucky there. And for me, even the Van Dijk goal, he's cut off. He's cut off by Mane. you know, puts a little arm out, puts a leg out. Robin trips over him, can't follow Van Dijk. For me, even for that goal, a lot of people turn around blaming Robin. But what about Meslier? You know, why is Van Dijk running up, heading the ball in Meslier's 6-yard box? For me, he's got to come and claim that or punch that and help Robin out a little bit. But, you know, yeah, that was then. This is now. Hope to see Costa score. Him and Harrison have found their flow in the Premier League. I agree with that. Rhiannon, Alan Richardson, almost 10K. Yeah, mate, that's mega. If you guys are not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Gives me a lot of motivation to carry on. This is a full-time thing for me. I'm putting a lot of effort into it with regards to sponsorships, with regards to graphics, with regards to name changes, with regards to everything. So please, your continued support is really helpful. It's all because of you guys I'm able to do this. Do you believe we need a change up in the squad positions? Maybe trying 2 strikers. Yeah, I think against certain teams, mate. I think it's a good point. I think having 2 strikers against certain outfits is always going to be a positive thing because it changes things up and it makes Leeds very unpredictable. At this moment in time, are we predictable? It depends if you can play against us for a start, but are we predictable in terms of formation? Yeah, it's always going to be the 4-1-4-1, isn't it? So varying it up, bringing another centre forward in, you know, would we need to do that or would we need to just carry on with Rodrigo up front? You know, Rodrigo and Bamford, that'd be really nice to see. A lot of people turning around and sort of having a go a little bit at Rodrigo midweek and saying, 90 minutes, he's not scored. I thought Rodrigo was good. Listen, he didn't have a lot of quality around him, and that's going to be a difficult part for any striker. You know, if you've not got the tools around you to assist you, if you've not got the tools around you with the build-up play, if you've not got the tools around you to properly defend, then you're not going to be getting a lot of opportunities. There was no transitional play really against Hull. It was a dire game. It was a bad performance from Leeds. And Rodrigo didn't really have much. He was having to come deep a lot to get the ball. Couple of nice flicks, couple of nice tricks. But overall, if you're blaming Rodrigo and saying, I didn't score this, that, and the other, how many opportunities did he get? He got none. You know, there was no creative spark from that team. There was no innovativeness, and we deserved to lose the game. So, on a whole, I thought Rodrigo did quite well. So, yeah. Let's have a look. Hit the like button. Connor, thoughts on signing another winger? Don't we have more backup in midfield than we do on the wings? Yeah, and it's an interesting point, mate, because with regards to wings, we're very dynamic Leeds. That's the reason Trent Alexander-Arnold couldn't play last week and Robertson got cut off. They were consistently worried about Leeds pressing from the front and Leeds' offensive options out wide. Costa and Harrison were brilliant, and they cut off the supply of Robertson and Trent coming forward. So the wings is a massive deal for Leeds, playing out wide. That's the massive difference between Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola and Bielsa. Bielsa is one of the 3 who consistently plays on the wings. You look how dynamic Leeds are on the wings and how much they help out defensively as well. It's extremely impressive, and no other team does it like Leeds do it out wide. So a lot of our play comes from out wide. So getting another winger in would be good. I would argue probably that Gelhardt can play sort of an inside forward wing role, so he can cut in and sort of do what we saw Jack Harrison do at the weekend. We actually saw James Rodriguez do it a hell of a lot for Everton last week. If you watch the Everton game, cutting in his left foot, pinging it in, and Joe Gelhardt is extremely good on his left foot. So that's potentially an option as an inside forward / winger. You've also got Costa, you've also got Harrison, who are going to be mainstays. But for me, I don't think the wing is the big critical point in Leeds' play. I think the big critical point is obviously for me a goalkeeper and for me a cam. But yeah, with regards to the game today, I think it's going to be a lot based on the wings. We saw Fulham defensively very poor for me against Arsenal. They don't like players running at them. They're not very quick. Tim Ream, Hector's great in the air, but on the floor, I'm not sure he's that good. Dennis Udoy can be exposed. It's going to be really interesting to see whether or not Fulham actually bring in some of the new signings. You know, we're talking with Fulhamish midweek, which was a podcast, a Fulham podcast, and Don was sort of saying that he expects new signings to come in. So as I was saying on my preview, is it going to be a case of new signings coming in to face a Marcelo Bielsa side where it's going to be hellfire and fury, or is it going to be a case of him having sort of the old signings in who are going to be sort of playing in the same mould and going to be playing the same style against these Bielsa wingers where they got picked off last time? It's going to be really interesting to see. A lot of people joining. Hello, guys. If you've just joined, make sure you slap a like on the video. Alan Richardson, will you be doing a watch-along? I will be, Alan. This is going to be a thing every single weekend. You build up your watch-alongs, your instant match reviews. So it's about 5 hours worth altogether of my time. So, yeah, it's a big day, Saturdays, for the One Leeds channel. You say a lot of players are more suited to the Prem, But will that help against Fulham? They're all also newly promoted. Well, I think, Louis, you've got to look at our last performance against Fulham and how we exposed them in many areas on the counter-attack. I personally think Scott Parker's going to come today and potentially play a 4-3-3, which was the formation that Fulham had us in the first game with. I think Fulham are better with the 4-3-3. I think 4-2-3-1, they look a little bit more rigid. They can't get a lot of their attacking players in position. I think Harrison Reed, the defensive midfielder, would also act very nicely in a 4-3-3, as he would just act as a single pivot, as we see with Calvin week in, week out. But I think Fulham have a lot of players who can adapt to that 4-3-3 and will be better in that 4-3-3 formation. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not Scotty Parker does change it up today. I think he should, for me. Stuart Cundall says, afternoon 3-1 today. Connor, I think Greenwood is ready for the squad rotation to Helder Harrison. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I don't know whether or not Greenwood is more of a centre forward, but can he be adapted into those wide options? Definitely. I think so. I think he's got the technical ability. I watched the 23s game yesterday, and there's a lot of people who stood out. You know, Huggins, there was obviously Gelhardt, there was Greenwood, and especially Cody Drama. And listen, Cody Drama looked absolutely fantastic. For me, man of the match, he was absolutely brilliant. Reminded me, and I hate drawing this comparison with him being a Manchester United player, but Wan-Bissaka, his one-on-one defending is absolutely brilliant. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Leeds actually embed someone like Cody Drama in, and maybe that frees Ayling up to go somewhere. Maybe that makes us take into consideration the 3-3-1-3 formation, or maybe a two up front formation. 3-5-2 or something like that. It's going to be really interesting to see how we utilize these players. It's not, listen, guys, it's not only in game, before the game where Leeds set the formation and stick to it. You see Dallas centre back, you'll see Douglas sometimes playing left wing, you know, when he's involved in the squad. You see so many players interchanging. You saw that especially midweek against Hull. So Leeds change formations within the game. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not we do adapt to up front, whether or not we do utilise players like Joe Gelhardt, Cody Drama, who for me are definitely ready for first team football. Let's have a look. Fulham will park the bus, says Craig, out of fear. We may actually struggle to break them down. Needs to be open for us to win this easy. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, Craig. And I think it's what, like I said, it's going to be a different sort of formation wise in terms of Leeds and how are we going to be able to break Fulham down if Fulham are just, you know, sort of defending consistently? Are we going to be able to do that? I think we've got the quality to be able to. I don't think Fulham have got the quality at the back to consistently hold us off. We saw that last year. You know, in their first game, they didn't deserve to beat us, in my personal opinion. It should have ended a draw. I thought Leeds were quite poor that day. But the second game was very interesting because Fulham donned the first half. And for me, the interesting point today is it's not just going to be... it's going to be, when we're talking about breaking them down, it's going to be who's starting. The cam roll is going to be vital for me. Who's going to start there? Is it going to be Roberts, then Pablo coming on in the second half? I would personally start with that, just because I think Pablo Hernandez is way more effective in the second half than he is starting. Now, for me, that also reiterates Leeds' need for a cam. We need a cam. Centre attacking midfielder, whether or not it's Rodrigo de Paul, whether or not we have alternative options, Leeds need a cam, because to rely on a 35, nearly 36-year-old man in the Premier League, listen, you might have as many sentiments towards Pablo Hernandez as you want, but it's not realistic. We need to be getting another cam in. And if we don't, for me, in that position, creativity-wise, we could struggle because we can't just rely on him all the time. I was a little bit disappointed midweek with Roberts because I thought against at least Hull, he'd have been able to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and really coax the young lads through it. Now, listen, Roberts is still young. He's a very young lad. He's got a lot of technical ability, but his consistency has to improve in that cam role. It has to improve if he wants to not only be within this Leeds United side, but also stay with Leeds. It's going to be really interesting to see his development within the next couple of seasons, if he's going to be at Leeds, if he's not going to be at Leeds. But games like this today, if he does start, he needs to grab this game. He needs to maybe get a goal or an assist. We need to see more from Tyler Roberts, which is it's going to allow Pablo Hernandez to do his magic. It's going to be allow Leeds to really utilize Pablo Hernandez in an effective way. If we don't have a centre attacking midfielder who can start the game effectively and create things and innovate, then we're going to be relying on Pablo Hernandez consistently, which it's not good in the Premier League for a 35/36-year-old man. I think it's a really interesting talking point. Let's have a look what some of you guys are saying. Fulham won't want to play high. They're all very slow. Yeah, I'd expect that. The high press is going to be really interesting to see whether or not Fulham do that because, I mean, they're just not really that quick enough to be able to do that. Let's see what some of you guys are saying. Rhiannon says, I hate when teams park the bus. Doesn't make for a good game at all. I know we conceded against Liverpool, but that was such a good game because it was so open. Yeah, it's entertainment football as well, isn't it? Football is all about entertainment, obviously sport. But yeah, listen, it was a brilliant game, wasn't it, last week for the neutral? But I think I don't think Fulham are going to. Fulham never parked the bus. If anything, in that first half, we sort of parked the bus. We couldn't get the ball off Fulham. And they're quite an attacking-based team. Obviously, they've got a lot of firepower going forward, and they keep the ball a lot. So when you keep possession a lot, you have to transition from defence to midfield to attack rather quickly. Otherwise, there's no point in you having possession. So they do keep the ball a heck of a lot. It's going to be interesting to see which team has a lot of it. If we're just playing counter-attacking football and defending well today, that's absolutely fine by me. But yeah, I would be a bit cautious about going into this game and saying 3-4, 5-0 leads. I think it's going to be a different game. I think it's going to be a lot tougher than last time. Obviously, we've not seen the relationship between Cooper and Robin yet. That's going to be interesting to see. We haven't seen that yet. Obviously, by this point at Ellen Road, we'd seen the partnership between Cooper and White established. They had a cracking bond with each other. Cooper had improved White. White had improved Cooper. We've not seen that with Robin. We don't know what Robin's going to be like next to Cooper. I do personally think he'll adapt really nicely, but it's going to be very interesting to see their relationship today for me. Jack White says 2-0 Leeds as Cooper's back and he's going to hold the line well. Let's have a look. Areola going to have a blinder for them. Yeah, great signing Areola for Fulham, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not every keeper seems to have a great game against Leeds, don't they? But I think the big thing as well for me, guys, when we played Hull in particular, we didn't have. I think we had 2 shots on goal. We scored 1. Liverpool, we had 5 shots. I believe we had 4 shots on goal, as in like on target. And we scored 3. So the best thing about it is we're conceding a few more goals, but we've played Liverpool. We're conceding a few more goals, but as well, we're being clinical, which is great, which is what you need to be in the Premier League. Scoring 3 goals already in the Premier League in your first game away at Anfield. It's a good feat to have. We actually are being more clinical, which is a big, big factor to take as well. Last year, it took us 15 shots to get a goal, to get 1 or 2 goals. That's, it was the mantra of Leeds last year. But already, away at the champions, we're absolutely ruthless. We're clinical with our chances. So that's a massive positive to take away so far. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we are like that again today. So, as I say, guys, get your comments in. 2-0 Leeds for me. Must-win game, says Rodney. Math, I'm so nervous. Graham Walker, come on, Leeds. Bielsa may start Stroik ahead of Koch. He may do. But that will be 2 left-footers as a centre-back pairing. And obviously, Leeds have gone out and bought Robin. And Robin featured last week. If Robin hadn't featured last week, I would probably agree with you. But he has featured last week, which I think is a big thing. Rodrigo will come on and will score. The quality of players around him in this team, he'll get the chances today, hopefully. But yeah, interesting points. 3 points today, marching on together, says John. Missed opportunity for Tyler versus Hull. I would agree with your math, but it's going to be interesting to see how Leeds set up in that cam roll once again. 1-0, says Brad, to Leeds. Leeds says, Hype Clan. Mitrovic worries me, says Math. Yeah, and Mitrovic against Robin, it's going to be a really, really interesting game. If Mitrovic has got anything about him, he's going to lean on Robin because he's a new player for Leeds, because potentially he saw some mistakes last week. I reckon Mitrovic is going to definitely lean on him, and it's going to be a very, very, very interesting battle between Mitrovic and Robin Koch. But yeah, guys, that is going to be it for your build-up. I hope you've enjoyed it. We will be back here at around 2:15, around 2:30, with your pre-match build-up when the teams are announced. We'll be back here with your watch-along, so make sure you stay tuned for that, guys. I'll see you then very, very soon. See you in a bit.